Hey guys, I'm Jade, a digital artist and illustrator, and today I thought I would take you along with the process of me drawing one of my mermaid drawings. If you're in the art community, you may have heard of or even participated in an art challenge called Mermay. Mermay is a 31-day art challenge where you draw different mermaid-based drawings inspired by the official prompts. However, I like to put a spin on the original challenge and create my own list of 12 prompts for the 31 days of May. I picked 12 drawings to do instead of 31 because for me it's a lot more manageable, even though I often complete the whole list like a month or two later. But anyway, when I create my own prompt list, I like to have a theme to it so that I can practice my character design skills and have a bit of fun with it too. So last year, my theme was different types of fish. This was the prompt list, and here are some of the mermaids that I designed. It was a lot of fun to add a spin to the traditional mermaid challenge, so much so I just had to do it again this year. Which leads me on to the theme for this year, different types of food. I first originally thought of doing zodiac mermaids, but I felt that it was a concept that had been done a lot with characters based on them, so I went back to the idea board. Then randomly, I had the idea of designing mermaids based on different types of food, which I thought would be quite a fun challenge, and what a challenge it has been so far. So the drawing that I'm showing you today is the third prompt of my mermaid inspired challenge, Snacky Sirens. This is the prompt list for the whole challenge, and so far I am very behind, as it is now the middle of June and I'm currently working on only the fourth prompt, which is pancakes. But it doesn't matter, as I'm always quite a bit late with these challenges. Especially this year, as I participated in a very fun sticker challenge throughout May. If you want to see the stickers that I created for that challenge, then head over to my Etsy, as I'm putting them all up throughout June, 5 of them already being on there. Let's get into this drawing then. The third prompt for Snacky Sirens is mushrooms, so I had the task of creating a character based on mushrooms. I wanted to create more of a simpler design for this mermaid than I had done for the first two, this being the ramen mermaid and the candy mermaid. This was so that I could show off the mushrooms on her design a little bit more and create a more quiet and cute character design. So to do this, I first started to sketch out the design that I wanted. Well, the basics of it anyway. I knew straight away that she needed to have a mushroom hat, because that is what all mushroom-based characters must have. And because the main characteristic of any mushroom is obviously the cap. Then for the rest of her design, I got a bit stuck on what to do because I didn't really know how I wanted her tail to look. That's when I decided on making it look more like a stem with the ring or skirt that most mushrooms have. And of course, adding the little oyster mushrooms too. I'm overall happy with her design, especially after I started to colour test and then colour block. Because where most of the colours on this character design are neutral creams and browns, it was nice to have the pop of colour of her hat and top. The next step after colour blocking is rendering, the longest part of the whole drawing. I will always start with the character's eyes because I find this really helps to start a drawing off. I do have a lot of fun drawing eyes now, which I always find funny because when I started drawing digitally, I could not draw eyes. I used to try and hide them however I could. Here are some of my old drawings. They're from about 2021, so 4 years ago. I one day was sketching in my sketchbook and I think I just woke up with the ability to draw eyes. Granted, they weren't the greatest, but I had kind of figured out my style for drawing them, which really helped me to get where I am now with my character's eyes and even just faces. Fun fact, I didn't start with digital art. I kind of tried a bit here and there throughout my life, but never really liked it. I used to use paint.net at first, and I really didn't get on with that for drawing. I used to digitally colouring pages more than draw on it myself. I did draw one thing on it though. It was for a project at school. We had to create a restaurant idea with the name, logo idea, menu, and probably more that I just don't remember, which I took on the task of creating the logo once we had the name and idea. Our idea being donuts. We even as a group made some donuts and took them in the next day for our presentation, which was pretty fun. But anyway, I created the logo or kind of mascot on the digital software that I used to use, and it was not the greatest. Let's just say I've improved a lot since then. This was the idea, or well, the final piece. I decided to do kind of a donut character who was cute and cuddly, which yes, I did kind of achieve, but my skills could have used a lot of work. Either way, little me was proud of the drawing she had made for it, and my group seemed to like it too, which was a bonus. So with me not being great at digital art back then, I was very much a traditional artist, and I still love to draw with a pencil and paper. which a lot of my sticker designs and shop designs start on paper as sketches before I make them digital. It helps to create the designs a lot easier and to know kind of what I want without being overwhelmed with using colours and everything. So my art journey started with me and a pencil and paper. Which leads me on to when I started art. I've literally had a pencil in my hand from since I could hold one. So I guess I've always been into art. It also helps that I have a very creative family, with my mum being a photographer and my dad being really good at drawing. So me being creative was a definite. I remember I used to have an art box with loads of paints in different mediums, and I used to want to get it out at the most inconvenient times, like right before dinner. I was at the age where I wasn't trusted enough to use paints on my own, so the box was kept on top of our fridge for a while. That was until I was old enough to use it and not make an absolute complete mess. But that's where my art started. I used to make everything creative if I could, or find a way to add creativity to it. One example was, during the time of my school exams, I took a very long break from art because I just didn't have the time and I had gone through a lot in my personal life. So it became a bit harder to want to draw or have that creativity. But when I look back, I was still being creative, but just in a different way. All of my revision and exam notes were pretty and focused more on the presentation rather than the information. I remember my psychology notes were my favourite. I had an A4 piece of paper and drew a pretty big brain in the middle, and then used the space around the edge to write out my notes, which you'd think wouldn't be enough space, but I had extremely small handwriting sometimes, especially back then. Another one of my favourite subjects was biology because of all the diagrams that we had to draw. So even though I had taken a pretty long break, about 5 years from drawing, I was still being creative, just in a productive way. Now you might be wondering, did I study art in school? No, I did not. I thought that it wasn't where my career path would go, and to be honest, I didn't really see much coming out of picking art as a subject for my final exams. This was especially as I was excelling more at practical subjects like science, maths and psychology, which is where I wanted my career to initially go. I wanted to be a therapist. This was because I felt like I wanted to help people and understand more about the human brain. But about a year into my final exams, my mum started her own photography business, and I watched the whole studio and idea being built. We already had a logo from before when she had started independently doing little bits here and there. So the main things that needed to be made was the promotional leaflets and a website. So at first we hired someone to design the website, which was alright. It was nicely laid out, but there was a lot of spelling mistakes and things weren't cohesive with the writing or spacing. This is where little 15-year-old me decided that I was going to learn the website builder that they had used, and with permission fix the little mistakes and made it look the same across the pages. Which this made me start getting into design, and I really enjoyed it. So much so I started to create the leaflets and posters for my mum's company too, and then that became the big change in my career path. I had the big decision to make about a year later, and I first of course looked at what paths I could take to become a therapist, but in the back of my mind I knew that wasn't it. So I started to look at graphic design focus courses. So I started to be creative again, and because I was drawing more at college, I started to consume more art, which led me on to finding Procreate. And that's when I started getting into digital art more, because I'd found a program that I felt comfortable with to create art. So we're here now. Creating art's my job and trying to make people smile along the way. So back to the drawing. While drawing this mermaid, some of my footage corrupted, which is annoying because I rendered her mushroom hat, hair and started her top. So there is a lot that's missing, but we are going to keep going with the rest of it. For the tail of this mermaid, I added an orange hue to the top and end of the tail. I played around with which blending mode to use and which one would give me the effect that I wanted. That's when I went with colour burn to add the saturated orange effect to the tail. Then was the big job of rendering all the little mushrooms on her tail, which I did more of a simple shading to them so that they didn't look confusing and too much. So with this I originally used an orange colour on multiply to map out the lines and then basic shading on each of the mushrooms. I then decided to change the colour of the multiply layer because it was too saturated for what I wanted and I felt like it blended with the tail colours a little too much. So I changed this to a darker brown than the mushrooms. I think once I've drawn all of these mermaids, I will add some of their designs to my shop in some way. I'm thinking like sticker sheets, stickers, maybe bookmarks, or even a mini colouring book. I'm thinking about it in a minute, but first I have to finish the other 9 character designs before I even think about that. Talking about my shop, I am currently adding loads of new designs to it during June. Every Saturday during this month, I will be adding 5 new designs for the Sticker May challenge that I participated in last month. And there are quite a few of my new favourite designs on there, so make sure to go and check that out and keep an eye out for some more fun designs in the next few weeks. It's been really fun the last couple of months making designs and collections for my shop. I still find it a bit crazy that I can do this for my job. I didn't quite think that I would be here now when I started my little shop back in 2023. I originally started it because I was inspired by all of the artists who make and sell stickers and enamel pins. I also used to have a massive obsession with pins, which we don't really need to talk about. But that's what made me want to start an Etsy myself. So after a lot of research, I realised that I could do it, and then that's what leads me to where I am now. It was a lot of hard work and perseverance, as a lot of artists know, but it's always worth it in the end, especially when your art can make people smile. I do think you can make a living from your art, but from my advice, I wouldn't put all of your effort into one stream of income with art, more so if you want it to be your full-time. It is good to have more than just an Etsy or online shop. Many artists have an online shop as well as a Patreon, or doing in-person events and market or commissions, or even having a YouTube channel. For example, with me, I have a Patreon too, where I offer exclusive videos and monthly themed rewards like digital wallpapers, colouring pages and stickers and bookmarks. This month's theme is Ducky Garden Party, by the way, and I think you should check it out. But do I think you can make a living from your art? Yes. Is it easy? No. It is a lot of determination of showing your art to people and creating a community around yourself, but if you put that work in, it is possible to do eventually. So, the final touch that I will always add to a drawing is my soft light layers. I use a bright pink and a bright blue and then set them to the blending mode soft light at 8%. And with that, this drawing is complete. It was fun to create another mermaid character based on the type of food, and I can't wait to draw the rest of them. I hope you liked following me along drawing this mushroom mermaid. So if you did, make sure to give the video a like, it really does help out, and make sure to subscribe to keep up to date with my other videos. I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. Bye!